welcome along this week everyone, and to those of you that have recently subscribed, welcome to my channel. My name's Suzanne and I garden and grow cut flowers in Devon in the UK, which is equivalent to the American zoning system of 8B. One of the wonderful things about growing your own cut flowers is the seasonal variation. I don't know if you take notice, I'm always looking at the flowers that are in the supermarkets or at the petrol station because I'm nosy. That's why I watch lots of YouTubers, and I'm sure some of you are the same. And when we're growing our flowers, we don't use the same flowers throughout the year. We grow things for seasonal variation. And we've had our daffodils, we've had our tulips, the lupins are finishing now, and the aquilegia and the alliums, all the things we've been cutting. And we're at the point now, we're in the May-June gap, but you can see things are starting to bud up, and we will hopefully be on our way out of it. So we have an order for a gift garden posy today, which I need to make up and deliver. So I cut those flowers and condition them overnight in another building that we have, which is just ever so slightly cooler than my workshop. It's lovely and cool in here in the morning, so it's beautiful temperature in here now. But it will heat up in here as the day moves forward. And I thought, seeing as I was making this bouquet, I call it a posy, this one. I have a bunch, a posy and the bouquet, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I thought it would be a really good opportunity to talk about what I'm cutting now, because we're right in the middle of the May-June gap. And I'll just touch briefly on what I have been cutting, and I will pop some pictures in of a few bunches I've made if I can find them. I think I've taken a few pictures. I know I delivered some flowers yesterday for which I hadn't taken a picture. But just briefly, what things I have been cutting and are just sort of going over now are the lupins, aquilegia, alliums. They're great in the May-June gap, but obviously they do finish, and the same goes for things like the iris and things like that. So now we're moving into June, and some of the perennials you can see they're nearly there. The achillea's nearly there, the feverfew is nearly there. What else did I see budding up the other day? Well, anyway, there are lots of things that are nearly there, but there are lots of things that are also nearly over. So for me, things like the nepeta, this is a poor old droopy bit, don't worry, I won't put this in a bouquet. And this is actually quite a good specimen, so it's all right, but it's just starting to go brown in places now, so not the quality's not as good. I'm also just finishing now with my foxgloves. This bucket's not the bucket I just cut to use, by the way. This has been in here a fair few days. So I've just finished with my Alba foxgloves. Definitely will be sewing some more of those, and I've actually bought a mix of colours as well to sew some more. Incidentally, I'm not going to hold off sewing my biennials for a day or two, just because I'm going away for about 4 days, and when I'm nursing seedlings I like to see them every day, so I'm just going to wait until I get back because I think that'll be easier. What else have I been cutting that's coming to an end? If I think of anything, I'll write a little list in, but I think I've mentioned them all anyway. So things that I have been cutting for a couple of weeks are things like the oxeye daisy. Now these I don't grow specifically, but my dad has an abundant supply, and these are absolutely fantastic. The vase life, it's incredible, the vase life of this. I mean, anything from that sort of chrysanthemum family always has fantastic vase life. So these are great as that sort of airy element. I haven't cut any of those fresh for this bouquet, so I can't pop any of those in. And then most other things I've been cutting are actually going into this bouquet, so I'll go ahead and show you what I've got. So this is my bucket of goodies that I cut and conditioned, and these are all things that I'm cutting now. So if you're looking for ideas for next year of things you can have in the May-June gap, we've got quite a good selection here. So we have got, I'm terrible at getting things out of buckets without them being all tangled up. Ooh. and I'm always damaging flowers as well. So we've got the larkspur here. Is this baby boy or something, or little boy blue or something? So we've got our larkspur, so that's a nice addition. The alchemilla mollis is always extremely useful as a filler now before your feverfew really gets going, and that's really gives things a really nice pop. And then my stock I'm cutting at the moment, they're not quite as good as last year. I think that's the weather. It's I've grown them in the same way. I've grown them under Enviromesh. They're not quite as tall and the flowers are not quite as big, but they're still beautiful and still perfectly usable in a bouquet. These ones are vintage brown. And then valerian. People are going to think I'm mad because I've always used the white valerian before. That's the one I grow. But I've sown some seed of the red, which I know grows like a weed in some places, and people may think that I've just chopped it out of the hedges, but the vase life is brilliant and it's actually a really good cut flower. So anyway, I've gone ahead and grown the red, but for today we've got several stems of the white. And then a flower that's new to me this year, if I can get it out. Oh, that's not the one I was looking for. This isn't new to me. This is Phacelia, which I said I wasn't going to grow again. What a stupid thing to say. I definitely will grow it again. The trick though, which I did differently this year, is last year I'd only really sown one succession of it, and that was my mistake. This year I've sown 3 successions of it, and for that reason it's been fantastic, because it means I've been able to cut from it for longer. This is who I was trying to get out of the bucket. Oh, that's a wonky stem one. Have I got a non-wonky stem? Here we are, my crown daisies. This one's nearly a little bit too pollinated actually. So these are great, and I didn't sow any calendula this year, so it's quite nice to have that pop of yellow. But whereas the calendula make the vase water very dirty and quite smelly, and they can make the other flowers go over more quickly, if you want a pop of yellow with a better vase life at this time of year, then I would recommend these crown daisies. Yeah, I definitely will grow those again. And likewise, I've also been growing for the first time this year the Gilia. And I definitely will grow that one again as well. I don't have any of that for this bouquet. And then the Greek cress I've been using for ages. I mean, you do have to take off the leaves because the seed pods won't go yellow, but the leaves will go yellow. So you let this go to seed. And I love the Greek cress. And I went to sow yet another succession yesterday, and I'd run out of seed. So I won't do any more successions now, but yeah, I really recommend this. I really like it. I tried to grow the penny cress once, which I think is the most popular one, but I've got to be honest, I didn't get on with it as well as I get on with the Greek cress. So I've been cutting plenty of that and still have some to cut. Canterbury bells. I've just ordered my seed for my Canterbury bells, and I've only ordered the pink. I've decided the pink will be more useful to me. But we've got a few stems of the purple for this bouquet. I mentioned Phacelia, but yes, the good old dianthus. Oh, I can't get them out of the bucket. So the dianthus has been great for me, and that's largely because I didn't plant it all in the same bed. So I've got 4 different areas with dianthus in, and I also planted them at slightly different times, and that has meant I've had a succession rather than having it all in one bed, it all flowering in one go and then it's over. So I would really recommend, if you're gardening on a smaller scale like I am, just putting odd bits here and there, which I know doesn't make it so easy for harvesting, but it does mean that you'll be able to have a crop for a longer period of time. I've got some white, which I've just started to, I don't know if you can actually see that, if that's in, yeah, I've got some white which is just coming in now, which is really beautiful, which I'm just starting to cut from. And then, yes. Come on, don't get all tangled up. Oh! I hate getting things out of buckets because I tend to destroy the flowers. Nigella, of course. This is the one I like for the black pods, but I will use it as a cut flower as well. So the Nigella's cropping quite nicely now, as is the Astrantia. If I can avoid using this fresh, I will, because I like to cut it for dry. But there's a few nicer length stems here which I thought would go really nicely in this little bunch. And then I think the only thing we've got left in the bucket to show you are a couple of stems of roses. I don't put roses into my classic bunches very often, but I do sometimes put them in my garden posies, and I try and put a big clump in so you've got some roses that are more closed up, because obviously the ones that are opened up will go over more quickly. Okay, so that's everything we're going to use to make this posy today, and that hopefully will give you a sort of idea of what I'm cutting in the May-June gap and what you could maybe have a go at cutting next year. And I definitely will be sewing the white foxgloves as well, but also I've ordered a mixed colour one, just for a bit of variation. The Canterbury Bells, I'm only going to sew the pink, but if these perennialise and come back, I will have that colour. Sweet Williams, I'm just going to sew the one, I've got lots of pink and white plain, so I'm going to sew, is it the auricular-eyed? So I'm going to go ahead and put together this posy, and do I get my table out? No, I think I'm just going to try and do it like this. Now the only thing is I haven't taken all these leaves off my Greek cress, so I might have to speed you up for this bit because you don't want to watch me take all these leaves off. This is the only thing, and some people might not grow it because of this, because you have to take all the leaves off, because it is a bit of a faff. But for me, it's worth it. I will have to stem count this because I've learnt my lesson not to just chuck random numbers of flowers into things. So, I really should have got some mint to go in this for a bit of scent. Never mind. No mint. That's another thing I've been cutting loads of. Apple mint at the moment. But anyway, we won't have that. Let's have a couple of Canterbury Bells now. I'll just take off anything that's going to be at your binding point, because it's only going to be a pain. Technically, I describe this as a posy, and a posy's supposed to be round, but we all know I'm a fan of a forward facing. I don't know, I might make it round, we'll see. I probably won't. It's probably going to be forward facing. Hopefully the customer won't look up the dictionary meaning for a posy. Okay, So what could we go with now? So when I condition things, I take off most of the lower leaves, and then when I'm working with the flowers now, I sometimes take out some extras. Valerian. Let's have some larkspur. Oh, let's take off a couple of lower stems. Have a bit of nigella. Okay, and then what about, I haven't put in my focal flowers and my roses in my stock, and you'll notice I haven't put those in yet, so I'm doing a whole load of fillery stuff first. Yeah, so I have got a little bit of cerinthe I could have cut, but I'm not using that either. That's another thing that I could cut at the moment. Cerinthe, honeywort, my salvia viride, my one plant. I've only grown one plant this year. That's not quite there yet. And I'm not missing that. It's funny how, do you know what, I think the reason you don't miss things is it's just you're just using something else, and you just, yeah, you don't need it. Right, let's put in a few focal now. So we'll stick a rose. Take a few more leaves off there. I'll have a rose that side. And then we'll have a rose that side. Okay, so we've got a bit of pink in. So look at the difference the pink suddenly makes to it. So then we ought to have some stock. I think I've got 5 stock. Ooh, that one's got a bit of a bent stem. Oh. I really should get everything out of buckets before I start, because I'm absolutely terrible. How many stock is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't like putting even numbers of things in. Although everything else is 2s. Let's whack a stock in the middle if we can. You just, if you do that, you really need to make sure you get your stem crossing over the same as the others. You don't want it crossing the other way. There we are. Mission accomplished. Okay, so this is what we've got at the moment. And we could have a little bit of Astrantia. Okay. Right, how many stems is that? switch you off now while I count. I should have counted as I went along. I usually do, but because I've been talking to you, I didn't multitask. I forgot about this. My one little phlox. I'll put that one in. That's sweet. Got a very wonky stem though. I'm going to use one of these more open for Celia. That's better. Oh, it was actually 25 because I forgot about the stock. So 25, 26, 27, 28. Two more things. We haven't had a pink dianthus, so we'll have pink dianthus. Right, one more flower. One more flower. Let's have oh, you're reluctant. Okay, so here's what we've got, and this needs to go into a box and be vased, so I will have to snip my stems in a minute. But you know what I advertised this as is garden flowers, and I did say it was posies, so I have made it round. Right, so I'm going to tie this off with some twine. La, la, la. Now then, this twine is no good for this, it will snap. I need, as I say, it should be in my kit box, and it is. Scissors. Now, the reason the person who ordered this specifically wanted the garden posy is because it's in water, and because it's going to somebody with a broken arm, they thought it'd be nice if they didn't have to do anything. And I agree, that's a very good idea and a lovely thought. So I'm just tying it around the binding point where I was holding it. I need to go and read what the gift card, there needs to be a gift card for this as well, so I need to get that ready. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim the stems, and then I'm going to leave this in a bucket of water for a minute while I go and do some other things, and then I'll come back and do the box and the vase and the gift tag and everything like that. I'll probably have to cut these stems again because the vase this goes in to go in the box is quite small. But for now, just to set it in my bucket of water, that will suffice. There we are. Oh, it's already open. When I work over the winter, I have to work in my kitchen. And it really makes me feel for those people who are doing these flowers as a side hustle and having to do them in your own home, because when I have to take all my kit in the house over the winter, just because my shed gets too damp, it's on the radar that I need to sort the roof out in here. The roof doesn't leak, it's perfectly fine, but the condensation makes it as if it leaks. But anyway, what I suppose I'm getting at is, if you're thinking of starting a side hustle, I think for me, a side hustle growing cut flowers, I should probably specify, for me, something to consider, and I think is equally as important as if you've got growing space, is space to actually work in and do your floristry, store your flowers. So as I say, I'd store my flowers in a slightly different area because it can get too hot in here, but you want somewhere to work in. I mean, my shed is not particularly large, but it's absolutely, I mean, it's a mess at the moment, but it's stuffed with stuff. So, you know, boxes for when transporting flowers. You can see I've been doing some potting on, so I've got some compost, and I've got my sprayer, my plant food, and then I've started, I can't see where you're looking actually, drying things, and then, you know, vases and boxes, and, you know, down here we've got tissue paper and just all those things you need, and then, I mean, you want storage space. I probably waste so much twine by cutting the wrong lengths. I should probably really work out exactly how much twine I use and cut the same length every time, because that way I would be spending money wisely. But I don't, I always just guess. Lucky for me, I've got quite good at guessing. This is my last vase that fits in these boxes, and I'm going to have to go and wash it, but it was really hard to find one that fitted, and I do just pack it with tissue paper as well in the corners, but I'm just going to go and give this a wash because it's filthy. And tissue paper just holds the vase in place in the box. So then I have my gift tag, which I will pop on here. So that's got the message for the recipient from the sender. So I'll just pop that on there. Then I have my care card. Just realised you didn't see that. So that's the message for the recipient, and then this is my care card, which I will staple on now. And it, you know, just says about keeping your flowers out of direct sunlight and away from heat sources, and to change the water regularly. The website I've actually got on here is the Flowers from the Farm website, because when I had these made, it was before I had a website. But I do also have these new cards, which I pop in with dried flowers and things. So they don't have any care advice on them, but they do have my website on there instead. And sometimes I actually put both of them on. But today I think the care card will be fine. So now what I need to do is work out how short to cut my stems. So I will hold my bouquet next to my box, and not much is the answer. We're just going to edit this bunch a little bit. Oh, I nearly knocked you over then. We're just going to take him out because he's not conditioned very well. Okay, so that's my June flower posy all ready for delivery. So hopefully the recipient will be pleased with that. I think it's quite lovely, but of course I am biased, aren't we all? So now I just need to safely load that up in the car and work out where I'm going. As you know, I don't have a mobile phone, so I cannot just type in a postcode. What I do is I type in the postcode now before I go. I look at the map the old-fashioned way. I sometimes then just write down some good old-fashioned directions, and of course write the address down on a piece of paper. So I'll go and do all that, and then I'll go and get these delivered. I have been slowly improving the selection of flowers that I grow in the May and June gap year on year, but every year I appreciate that it still needs work and there's still lots of improvement to do. But I do notice that it is getting easier, and I really think now having a polytunnel is going to help me just to get ahead and make sure I really have got enough flowers in the May-June gap for all the orders that I have coming in. I hope you found this video helpful. If you do like my content, please subscribe so you can follow me on my flower journey. If you like this video, it'd be great if you could give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to contribute towards the making of my videos, you can buy me a coffee, and the link for that is in the description for the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.